Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, March 17th, 2024. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hey, Chris.
Good to see you, Steve. Man, we've really been enjoying some nice weather here. I mean,
heck yeah.
What a great day for St. Patrick's Day.
And we had a little bit of rain. You're supposed to be getting snow tomorrow. Just flurries, I'm sure.
That's not good, yeah.
I mean, it's not going to get below freezing, so I don't understand why. But
yeah. Well, spring is here. I mean, we've got 60s and 70-degree weather, and all the trees are budding out now, which is, it's kind of got me in a rush to hurry up and get out and get some more footwork done before we have a lot of foliage on the trees.
That is correct. That is correct. And just so folks know, I'm operating the show with a new browser tonight. So hopefully that will avoid some of the issues we've had. Chris already says my mic is sounding 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I think it sounds much better, much clearer to me. On this end, it sounds great.
But, for the last 5 years, we've been using Google Chrome for the show. And it just seems like my computer is just always churning when Google Chrome is on. And lately Google Chrome has been having so much issues loading different pages that for me it was time to switch. And so I switched to the Opera browser, although I'm still using Chrome for certain things, but the Opera browser is working really well.
Well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to download it and try it because like I've been doing the same thing. I've been using Google Chrome for years. And when you got to kind of get complacent with something, it's time to check out something new.
But I'll tell you what, it switched over my save sites. It switched over my bookmarks, and it switched over my passwords like that.
Well, that's handy.
So it was like, wow, everything is just the way it was on there, on the Chrome. I'm like, not bad, and it's got a sidebar with a lot of little extra features, which I really love. So
how's the neck doing, man? Is it still crunching and popping?
Absolutely. So just see me a little stiff tonight. It's there, and until I get my MRI, they really can't work it to start repairing the problem. And frankly, you never know when it's going to act up. I can be fine 1 minute, even when I'm on a muscle relaxer or even ibuprofen, it can spasm at any time. And it'll just be like, oh, what did I do to deserve that?
Yeah. The change in the weather will also make a big difference.
Yeah. It's bothering me now, but it is what it is. And sometimes sitting, especially leaning forward, really bothers me. So trying to keep proper posture.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe I should put the book on my head. But anyway, it's time to do the roll call.
Oh, all right. Yeah. And 62 already. Golly, guys.
So we want to welcome all the new listeners and all the new subscribers. Welcome. And hey, guess who was in? Well, I know there were some folks in way early, but tonight, as far as the StreamYard stream is concerned, guess who was first in?
Lester Taylor. Congratulations, Lester. This is becoming a habit now.
That's right. And if anybody wants to hear the little tribute song we did to Lester, you can listen to the Bigfoot News from last Friday.
Yeah.
Of course, Relic commented, stopped in and said, have a great show. He'll be watching tomorrow because he's over the pond.
All right.
And we
appreciate you.
And of course, we got Sharon in the house, Daniel Weeks, Low Rider, Outback Orchard, Tennessee Cherokee, Pat Collins, Smedley Do-Right, Mitch Hargrove, Bristol, good to see you. Uncle Bones, too, also good to see you. Pete H. Hello, Pete. Walter Kroll is in the house.
Walter
Grasshopper, how you doing, Alan? Good to see you again. Don Gumow Jr. Hello, from the state of Maine. So he's Mike's neighbor.
Representing, yeah. Oh, pretty close. Yeah.
Henry May. There's Henry May in the house as well.
Good to see you, Henry.
Who else? Jeremiah, Bigfoot Society is in the house.
Jeremiah.
Who let the battle cry, Joan, get me a Snapple.
Yeah.
Traveling with Jim. Jim, my buddy Jim. Good to see you, Jim.
Yeah.
Robert Denduven is in the house as well. Don Fuller. Hello, Don.
Don.
Hey, Heather's channel. And Heather is from Scotland. She dropped me a message earlier today. She usually listens to the show. And welcome, Heather. Glad to see you can make it live tonight. Yeah. And it was a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for the kind words. Little Kilroy's still here.
Little Kilroy.
Finding the trackway. Hello, Bill.
Did you miss Jen? Hey, Jen.
Jen is in. Did I miss Jen?
I think you missed Jen.
Oh, I did. Hello, Jen. Sorry. That's such a little name. It's hard to. Of course, we got Mike and Tactical Bigfoot Research in there. Good to see you, Tac.
Yeah.
Tom Connolly. Hello. Good to see you, Tom.
I've got lost again. I'm lost now.
I'm still on. We got a Cryptic Crystal in the house. Hello, Cryptic Crystal. Welcome. Brian and Chewy go hiking in the house as well. Alex Petikoff's in the house. Hello, Alex. Another New Hampshire guy. New Hampshire's representing today.
Yeah, they are. Glad to see it too.
We did say Brian and Chewy go hiking, and right.
Okay.
So Scrub, Old Spirit Art. Hello, Art. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Danny Staten in the house. Good to see you, Danny.
Danny.
There's Michael. Mike's in the house. Texas Bigfoot Rangers.
Mike, welcome. Yeah.
And again, thank you. And hello, Jeff. Thank you. I may feel like bleep, but you look and sound.
Pine Island Research. Welcome, Jeff. And let's see, I think that's everybody.
Sandwich Savant.
I love that.
I love it.
Oh man.
DM Zabo in the house as well. Blake Burrows.
Blake.
Yeah, we got Tea Time with Tiffany. Hello, Tiffany.
Tiffany, welcome.
Man,
we're getting close to the bottom.
Jay Fritz. There's Jay.
Hi, Jay. Good to see you.
We got everybody in the house.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased, especially pleased to see Henry May on here because I love Henry, and Henry on his channel, he does a cryptozoology show. It's not just about Bigfoot; it's about other stuff too. And he usually posts once, maybe twice a week. So check out Henry's channel, Henry May.
And you know what? You know who's due to come back on the show? Henry May. Henry, we want you back on the show.
It's been a while. We need
so I'm going to hit you up on Facebook. We'll get you scheduled out there. So I think the earliest spot we have is the middle of April now. We have shows. Of course, we don't have a show Easter Sunday. Michael.
Oh, my gosh. Mike, what are you doing, man? Oh, my God. I cannot believe this. I'm on a
Thank you so much. I am.
Goodness. Wow. Yeah, that's a big hello. Thank you, sir.
Well, he said it once before. They do everything big in Texas.
Oh my God. Yeah, evidently. Wow. Oh, Mike, I can't believe it. Thank you so much.
Alms for the cripple here.
I'm speechless now.
Yeah, but that's how far we are booked out. We are booked out to mid-April already. So, I haven't booked the show in probably about 3 weeks. I've just kind of taken a vacation from that and just switching into production. And we have a whole bunch of shorts going out this week. We got one more from Haskell Hart, and then we go into our John Green shorts and our quotes from John Green. So anyway, we have a wonderful guest on tonight. He is from the Granite State, New Hampshire. And, somebody asked already, hey, is there Bigfoot on Mount Washington? Well, you're going to have that opportunity to ask. But let me just give you a little background. Mike and I met at the Whitehall Bigfoot Festival. And him and his crew traveled out there to kind of film interviews and talk to people. And it was just such a good time. Mike is such an inviting guy. And it was like instant getting along with them. And, so all of a sudden I noticed here's this New Hampshire Bigfoot Society. And guess who's kind of like front and center of it right now is Mike. So we said, we got to get Mike on the show and we'll talk. And so welcome, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Definitely a pleasure. It's great to meet you, Chris.
Good to meet you.
Hopefully we can do it in person someday. But yeah, definitely. This has been a blast. A lot of fun since we first met in Whitehall. And I'll tell you what, Whitehall was an event in a day in itself. That alone was just a great time. And everything since then has kind of blown up, and we've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. So I'll start by throwing out some questions. Give us some of your background. I know you have a very big production and video background.
So I also am a producer for Chaos Theater Productions. My son-in-law, we started a production company to do a lot of different things. Actually, it's probably about a year ago we started it. He does a lot of production for his 9 to 5, and it was something that I've always wanted to do. But raising kids, back in the day, back in the 90s, I wanted to go in early 2000s. I wanted to go to work for a radio station, get into broadcasting, and I realized that there was very little money into it. I would meet a lot of cool people, go to a lot of cool events and all that, but raising kids, it was it wasn't going to work out. So it was always a little hobby. And fast forward to now, I'm kind of semi-retired from landscaping because about 12 years ago, I got Lyme's disease, and it's just something that's really taken over on me, and that with some autoimmune conditions. Us big guys fall apart quick. So shifting gears, and it's just timing works out to where my son-in-law, we've had a lot of ideas where this is the one that actually kind of got the most traction at the moment. We have a lot of other stuff that we want to do, but paranormal and Bigfoot was a thing that we tried to kind of work on. We had a few people that were interested in kind of taking it by the reins. And then, as things got kind of closer, things develop a little different. So I just kind of decided to take it myself and to run with it. And going to Whitehall was kind of funny because we were thinking about doing the show, getting ready to kind of write some stuff up. And even if it was a cut and paste documentary type thing, with just something to get out and do. And we ended up hooking up with Penford Media, who's out of North Adams, Mass. So they're really not that far from the New York area. I think they're more close to the Albany area than they are us, that's for sure. And a couple of young guys that were going around to these Bigfoot festivals and talking to different people. And we got up there, we met with them, and I wasn't sure what to expect. And Adam Malachuk killed it. He's got a good way of talking with people. And I decided to take some man on the street stuff and kind of run with it. And actually, I did my homework, at least to know who the speakers were. And I saw Steve walk by, and I said, "Hey, Steve, you got a few minutes?" He's like, "Yeah, I got maybe 5. Maybe." It was really quick, so we kind of made the most of it. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I am so super busy there. I think you caught me just before I was supposed to do a presentation.
Yes, I think that's what it was.
And that event for me is so busy because I got my own station to man, and I'm doing that. And then I got my lecture to go through, and then after that I MC the calling contest. So it gets very, very.
Mike said something there that interested me too. When he was talking about contracting Lyme disease. And that's something that I think everybody that puts boots on the ground needs to be concerned with.
That's something that we want to talk about, and promote in the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society. We have some events coming up, local stuff. And my wife and I talked, and it's a great way to bring the community closer, because no matter who's in the woods, whether you're hiking, swimming, fishing, hunting, looking for Bigfoot, especially here in the eastern New England, and I'm sure you guys have it really bad in New York, but it's really bad.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Walter, so much.
It's really tough, to keep people calm about it too, because people come in the woods, come out of the woods, and they're really freaking out, and everyone's running to urgent care because they got a tick on them. It's like, slow down a little bit. So there's a lot of education. I think we can totally team up with some of this Bigfoot outreach and really kind of talk about some of the outdoor stuff that's really important to everybody. And I think
that's
Lyme
something
disease is a big deal.
The ticks concerned me, especially here in Kentucky. I think you probably got a 50-50 chance. Some of them has it, some of them maybe not. Yeah. But, I found 4 of the little rascals on me from our outing we had last week. And, that's something to always worry about. Is there anything that you could recommend, Mike, or anything other than maybe, Deep Woods Off or something?
Yeah, you definitely use the DEET, spray your stuff down. I mean, it's hard when you're hunting,
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe it's something Steve can touch on later. Is how well do Sasquatches actually smell? Because I know like some animals and predators can smell a while. And when I go deer hunting, I try to make sure my outer garments are dried out and outside all night. To just kind of take that scent away. And I like to kind of go in very stealthily and very quietly and hope to not give off a scent. So I mean, if you're squatch hunting, some of that stuff is going to, I don't know, maybe give the scent away. At least that's my opinion. But otherwise, honestly, it's just staying super vigilant, identifying the ticks, because it's not all ticks that are going to give you Lyme's disease. And unfortunately, it is the really tiny ones that do. So you have to stay hyper vigilant on the moving freckles, as I call them. I'm pretty fair skinned myself, and sometimes after a hot day, you're dehydrated and nothing is, you've been in the woods or outside all day, and, you don't look close enough because you're just, tired. You take your clothes off. It's a good idea to check before you even go in your house. Usually if I go in the woods, I'll wear outer garments of some sort and strip those down. Even in the summertime, I'll make sure I have some kind of long pants on, and just stay hyper vigilant. I'd like to think that maybe garlic works. Just eating garlic would help, but that's kind of goes back to the old vampire and.
Well, yes, and what it does is it also attracts a lot of Italians. Hey, do I smell like garlic? And as an Italian, I can attest to that.
Yeah, that's great.
But this is a topic that is very rarely discussed within the realm of Bigfoot research, is the dangers of the forest. Mm-hmm. Again, scent blocking. You talked about scents, and you don't want to go in there with cologne or anything like that. Not necessarily because of the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch, if they smell something like that, not that if they're a primate, their sense of smell isn't going to be that far.
Sure.
But they're going to be able to smell something, and it may attract them actually. But the problem with a sweet smelling fragrance or anything like that, or a soap, will not only attract bugs, but it will also attract bears. It will attract animals that like, hey, I smell something that's maybe food, and that's what you want to avoid.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of be scent free. I mean, I wouldn't go into trying to completely unmask yourself or anything like that if I'm doing, but what you do want to do is make sure you're deeded up. Because you have to, and without a doubt, that's just one of the little bit. And I always say, always carry a safety blanket, one of those aluminum blankets, so you can, in case you do get separated and you don't know where you are, you can keep warm for the night.
Yeah.
Bring a Zippo lighter, a windproof lighter. That way, if you need to, you can start a fire. And a flash.
I always thought, not to wear any kind of men's cologne over there, because there's a large female over in that one research area, and I don't want to be her unwilling prom date.
Wow.
I think anybody going into woods should definitely have some sort of pack with basic survival gear, a knife, maybe with a couple, or even a couple lighters, maybe even a magnesium and a flint, block, a couple different ways to start fire. Always go to your lighter first, right? I keep them in almost every pocket so that I cannot just never not have enough. And
Don't
they
forget
can get wet.
Don't forget a flashlight.
Yep. Yeah, that's and fresh batteries. I mean, that's kind of a thing. But some of the basic stuff, I think people need to just focus on, because here in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, I'm in central New Hampshire. I'm just outside of Concord. So I kind of live on the edge of suburbia and vacation land before we get into, the rugged wilderness of the White Mountains. Because between me and the White Mountains is pretty much like the Lakes region, Lakes Winnipesaukee, a lot of the, and you get out, a little further west toward Vermont, we get a lot of vacation Ossipee, Sunappees out that way, and a lot of that stuff. But beyond that, it's just rugged wilderness. And I plan on doing a lot of stuff this year, kind of pushing myself, because getting back to my condition, why I semi-retired from landscaping to begin with, was because I was just so run down with arthritis. So this year, feeling a lot better with new treatment. I hope to get out and, climb some mountains and talk to people in the field and do kind of a man on a trail type, some segments for a project that we have coming up. So it's going to be fun and to get up there. So we have we have a lot of stuff going on, and it's so exciting.
Mike Gann also said first aid kits are key. Yep. And in my gear listing, I have Benadryl cream. It's good to keep Benadryl tablets as well. You want to keep Pepto handy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep, of course, Band-Aids, bandages, a triangular bandage. I heard Chris.
Tackle tactician, yeah. Heard I wear English leather to attract those big females. No.
And you want to, especially the Benadryl cream. If you get a tick bite, okay, you pull the tick off. You can slap a little Benadryl cream on there. It'll kind of minimize some of that.
Right. Yeah.
That allergic reaction or that reaction you have to it. The only time I ever had an issue with ticks was in Kentucky.
Wow.
And I remember I woke up in the morning and I went to breakfast and there's Ron Bowles. What's that on your neck? And there was a tick on my neck. Didn't feel it. And he was like, pulled it off. And luckily he wasn't fat and nothing ever came of it. I found 2 other ticks on me later that morning. And they too did not give me any bullseye or anything other than just a little bump. Nothing a little Benadryl cream didn't fix.
Right. Yeah.
And a snake bite kit. A snake bite kit is also crucial to have as well.
I have found that if you have a tick that is attached, get some isopropyl rubbing alcohol and pour some in the cap and just put it directly over the area where the tick is attached, and just let him soak in alcohol for a little bit, and he will detach himself. 99% of the time, he'll come out by himself, because that alcohol drives them crazy, man. They got to get away from that.
Yeah, knowing my luck, I'd probably get the alcoholic tick and want to stay there. Hey, more.
But it's always a good idea, to try to get those things off of you, and monitor the skin area for that bullet rash. If you see that, get to a doctor.
Yeah. And that's it. Staying vigilant of the type of ticks that you're pulling off. People can go, if they're worried, they can go usually and just get a shot or a doxycycline dose to kind of flush it out, or the potential of anything. Yeah. I'm getting back on skin creams and stuff. I am the type of guy, because I have landscape. So the other part of my background is being, landscaping and being outdoors, working in nurseries. And one of the other things I like to do is, forage. So I'm an avid forager. So instead of the Benadryl, I tend to chew up yarrow and find some jewelweed and some of that wild stuff, or that stuff that's kind of growing. Sure. But it's not always available. But that stuff interests me too. Is a lot of that fun natural remedy stuff. I'll go out and filter water just to filter water for the for
Now-
the
now
fun
you're-
of it,
Now you're sounding like my son. Yeah, let me put this in my life straw. Yeah.
Well, I'll do something like I'll take a bandana, fill it with some peat moss, and soak some water up out of a pond, and hope, right? Hope that the iodine in the peat moss purifies it for me. But
Well,
maybe that's why I got sick from being from the Lyme disease.
It's no shame to learn how to do those things and learn the wild edibles in your area before you go out. Because, maybe you're not going to go out and dig roots to eat and survive on. But if something happened and you had to, hey, it's a good thing. Good to know.
It's fun to go in the woods too and kind of see a Walmart. If you kind of understand a lot of stuff, you start seeing uses for anything. Getting hooked on the survival shows for one, and then just going outside and really just kind of open your eyes. It's like once you see one thing, you see another. I tend to go, when I go deer hunting, I end up coming home with a backpack full of wild mushrooms, and I'll lay them on the kitchen countertop. It'll be pine needles and leaves and dirt stuck to them, and I'll chop them up and try to break them down and do some more research too, right? Because you can only trust the phone app just for
so much.
So I'll get home and go online and some field guides that I have, and then a lot of times I'll realize they're the wrong ones and just throw them all away, and my wife will get pretty upset that I made a mess of her kitchen. But that's life. That's being a guy, right? That's just being a guy who likes being outdoors. And so that's kind of my background too, is just loving the outdoors. And when I got involved with the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, and it's founded by a friend of mine that I grew up with. His name's Kelly Porter. I'm going to give out a shout out to Kelly.
Kelly is in chat, by the way.
Is he? What's up, bud? So him and I are literally lifelong. There he is. I'll do my best, bud. I'll do my best. We're lifelong friends, and when we were kids, we'd run through the woods, finding Bigfoot. And as we get older, we kind of go our separate ways, and kind of reconnected doing the Bigfoot thing. And, it was a conversation with him that, yes, Chicken of the Woods is one of my favorites for sure. He's the one. I was really lighthearted, to be honest with you. Me and my wife were out driving around through the summer, doing the state park thing, having fun. We go to all the tourist traps and everything, and go on our own adventures. And Bigfoot is just an iconic symbol. That's t-shirts, hats, stickers, you name it. It's everywhere. And so it was always a fun thing, but it was never anything that, we took serious. And it was me joking around with Kelly one day. And he kind of gave me that side eye and said, Mike, make sure you know what you're talking about before you go running your mouth. One of those things. And he set me straight on a few things. And he's the one that kind of pointed me toward Whitehall too. He's like, go up there. It's funny because we went up there, we expected to do a lot of stuff, and we never made it to the Skeensboro Museum. So that's going to be another adventure I'm going to have to set up, because that's the place to go, right? I mean, that's kind of the mecca of Bigfoot in the Northeast. So Kelly kind of pointed me in that direction. And then since then, him and I have worked together on setting up a festival, planning, going to events as the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, and networking. I've been busting my ass networking. We even kind of dabbled with rapid response investigation, and I don't know that went as well as it could have gone, but we gave it a shot. And we're going to take the back seat and leave the investigations to the pros for right now. But we're going to work on our skills, put our team together, and see, how that works out in the future. Because I did not realize how competitive, or seems to be, I don't know, there's maybe, Steve, maybe you can touch up on this. I didn't realize at first, when I got into the Bigfoot community, I realized everybody was very open, very giving and opening. But when you ask too many questions, it doesn't matter who it is or what they have to do with the community, whether it's an enthusiast, whether it's another investigator. People tend to clam up and get very defensive or very kind of quiet. And I kind of liken it to, you got a big buck in your woods, or you tell all your buddies at work about that big buck you're going to get him this year, but everybody asks you where it is. Oh, well, I'm not telling you my hunting spot. I mean, I can't do that. It's kind of a sin. So I'm almost feeling that's kind of the vibe that I get when I ask around, or we start kind of going around and try to get a little more proactive with this. So,
well, you know why that is?
Yeah, talk to me, Steve, please.
So why that is because you're new.
Yeah, and I figured that too. I figured that
over time, trust will build, and that's huge. Like, and to make a focus point, there was an investigation in New Hampshire that I had gotten thrown into, as well as Crystal Panic, who's been on the show, and Alex Petikoff. And out we went, and Mike had been there the day before, and another group apparently had been there the day after.
Yeah.
But that's, and Mike was very off-put that, the way it was kind of pressured to him, not by myself or any of us.
Yeah, there was third and fourth parties that we all it was a head spin.
Right.
It was a tailwind that we didn't know what was coming.
Right. And it happens. The big thing is to, like, I have certain research areas. And yes, people will clam up sometimes about where their research area is, because I had that happen to me in 2013. I let this guy know where my research area was, and then he went up there with his own team, not even telling me. It was because one of my own team members went up there for the weekend to do a little scout. Then he noticed that this guy was there. So what happens is sometimes people can deploy behaviors that will make how should I say it? Will make the creatures uncomfortable and make them vacate the area.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets really sensitive at times. I look at that as my crime scene, as my experimentation area.
Sure. Yeah.
Now is it known? Yeah, there's people that know it, and sometimes people go up, and believe it or not, when they do, they usually say, "Hey, I was up at so and so this week, and this is what I saw." So a lot of people that know it, I trust very well, because I've gotten to know them over time and stuff like that.
But I think there's some credence to not spreading where you have a specific area at the specific location, because you don't know. I mean, you might have some guys go out there and they're out there at night shining flashlights, shining.
And there's a few people in chat. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them right now that were there the day we caught the Whitehall howl, or the Fort Ann howl, I should say, or the Fort Ann whoop. And, I trust all those people implicitly. I don't care if they go up to that area. They know, they know how we play things. They play very similar to that I do. And, I've talked to another gentleman that's close by that has this idea, and I'm not so sure about it, but maybe we'll employ it. I don't know. We will see. But, the nice thing is, Mike, is that, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Alex right there. I'm sure he'll
I have not met Alex, or I think we might have crossed paths. I don't know if he was in Whitehall and, of course, in Henniker. Yeah. So I'm sure in time.
And you can always reach out to me as well. You got my number.
Awesome. Yeah. And I appreciate that. So our next step actually is going to Portland, Maine for the International Cryptozoology Conference. I don't know if you guys are planning on going up there, but we're going to do some stuff with Penford Media and and represent. We're not doing like a booth or anything, but we're going to go and shake hands and see if we can kiss babies and make friends in Maine, because the people in Maine are really cool, low key, down to earth, and it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot. We have a lot of fun stuff planned, and it should be a blast.
But let me just touch on that idea thing. The guy was respectful enough to ask me to say, "Hey, what do you think if we do this?" So I may just do it for the heck of it anyway. So what can it hurt? another few years of not having them in the area. I don't think that'll happen now necessarily. I think it's something they're used to tell you the truth, because in that particular area, the Forest Service, or I should say the state NCON, goes through and they cut up a bunch of trees the same way. So they may be accustomed to it. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Forest Service can be a aggravation for research at times.
Oh, by the way, Lester, the calling contest is all in fun, and I don't judge it. I'm only the MC. I don't judge it. They have a panel of celebrity judges they pick, either that are some of the people either presenting or some of the town officials and stuff like that. And usually they have one town person and a couple of people, a couple of researchers, and they'll do the judging. And it's just based on fun. I mean, it's not really based on accuracy or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. It's just fun. Yeah, we had actually Penford Media. I think it's Unheard is a series of documentaries that they put together based on the footage that we got, and you'll hear a lot of howling and a lot of the fun. I think some of the banter with you and I, Steve, and just a lot of the festivities.
The funniest thing I think that had happened, which never made the video. It's too bad we didn't have the outtake of that. Which we were talking, and this old guy walks right in between us.
Yes.
And I just threw out a face. I dropped this face. I was like,
yeah, that was great. Yeah, then the kid was screaming. I think they ended up using that in one of the outtakes at the end of one of their Penford Media. Zach and Adam put it at the end of one of their bits, but the kid was screaming, and I just had a grin, and you couldn't retain, you couldn't get it back, and we had to just kind of go cold face and start over again.
We were just laughing.
Yeah, we have
every time we'd start up, the kid would scream again. We'd be like,
that was a black. Like I said, I can't express how inspiring Whitehall was, and meeting you, Steve, and being so open and just welcoming. Everybody was. The organizers at the event were totally cool, letting us run around and do our thing. And so what we're doing in New Hampshire in October is we're going to try to do our own festival. We got a piece of land. I'm going to try to set up some vendors, do a few things, maybe some music, see what we can do for local stuff. We're not going to really have a budget, but we're going to try to make the most of what we have. And that information will be coming out soon. We got a little more planning to do. Because after Whitehall, I got to bring some of that home. I got to bring it to the locals. Yeah. And here, what I found in New Hampshire is that there's, and I don't know if I want to tell the secret, but there's a void. There's really like a demand for Bigfoot stuff here in Eastern New England, or Northern New England rather. And it's just fun to see people from all walks of life just be really interested in Bigfoot, really interested in just everything about it. And it's I can't express just how much fun I'm having with this. And I learned a lot too. Bigfoot and Bigfoot is different than other cryptids for a lot of reasons. And I think that's one thing that we want to talk about in my upcoming project, which is called Man Ape Among Us, that I'm producing with Matt Arsenal. He's going to direct it, and we got a lot of it stuff. We just got to get a couple more things to put the first episode together. And what we plan on doing is creating a series based on one. Well, it's kind of evolved now, but now it's going to be based on our ride through this Bigfoot experience. And this is definitely part of it. This might be part of the wrap. This actually kind of brings us full circle from Whitehall, Steve. So I think me being here and talking with you is kind of great, and it's even more inspiring that we're here to do this. But what we want to do is kind of define where legend and myth and reality all kind of meet. Back in 2001 in Danville, New Hampshire, a small town in Rockingham County, I grew up in the small town next door. I literally lived in the other small town on the other side of it. And I worked in all those neighborhoods landscaping. There was sightings of, well, first there was weird howls at night in the woods. And to give you an idea, it's probably only about 50 miles from Boston. So this is kind of the edge of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with New England, but kind of the Merrimack Valley. It starts thinning out north of the Merrimack Valley, unless you go into New Hampshire. You got Manchester and Concord, which is pretty densely populated. But Danville is kind of that interior Rockingham where it's still small town, old school, little almost village-like, So there was a lot of howling going on in the town, a lot of weird things kind of being reported, people not sure what they saw. And then one day the fire chief, David Kimball, was driving his truck down the road, and what he said was an 8-foot monkey jumped out of the wood line, ran alongside of his truck for a little bit, and then it darted back in. I believe the initial report was that it was large. It had like a dog muzzle. So I'm thinking maybe like a baboon style shaped face, running on all fours. And then it ditched in the woods, and it was not, I don't think it was recorded again, but there was a lot of reports. So within the next few weeks, everybody in town started, coming out with these reports that this wild monkey thing was all over in the neighborhoods. And it was all over the news. It was kind of cool. I think Howard Stern had talked about it that morning, or one of the mornings, just kind of a brief thing. It started to get to the point where it was just one of those fun human interest stories that I think, ABC and NBC, they were all bringing media crews to town. The local radio stations were dressing up in, monkey suits. And then there was a whole other side of it where people really concerned that there was a feral monkey or a loose pet or some sort of creature out in the woods that needed to be rescued, because this was early September. Around here, it starts getting chilly around late September. So October 1st, all bets are off for outdoor survival. We could have a foot of snow, or we could have mild weather. That's just kind of how it is where we're at. And so a lot of researchers came to town. There was a lot of just the circus. It was kind of a lot of fun excitement around town. We would be landscaping or working in a neighborhood, and kind of the running joke was that, the devil monkey was going to come out of the woods and get us. So it was a lot of fun and we were excited that, we made the news, and it was just one of those things. So it was going along great until 9/11 happened, and then everybody forgot about it, and it wasn't talked about much at all. And it kind of went dead. Doing some research, I found a guy that I actually went to middle school and high school with that was a reporter for the Manchester Union Leader at the time, and he wrote some stories about it back in 2012 about another incident and more sightings. So there was not only sightings in 2001, but 2012, there was sightings of a large monkey-type creature running through the woods, howling and creating a lot of havoc in a way. I guess that's the legend is that it created a lot of havoc. And once the weather warms up a little bit around here, we're going to get out into the field, and that's going to be, one of the other episodes is to really focus on that with our Man Ape Among Us. So
Mike, is this going to be like a documentary?
I think, we're trying to, it's a work in progress. It'll probably be something different when it's done than we even dreamed. I think it's going to be a little bit of documentary, a little bit of reality, some storytelling. We want to make sure that we get plenty of research coverage in it too. We want to do it justice. We don't want to do Bigfoot dirty by any means. Talking about the difference between what's biological and what's paranormal. I think for me, that defining that line is very important, because we have real events. These real events are Bigfoot sightings all over the Northeast, and I have to focus on the Northeast because that's where I'm at and that's what I know. I understand at least my neck of the woods anyway. I know the terrain might be a little different out over where you're at, Steve, but not much. Maybe just the rocks and the geology and the way that,
Oh, New York has a lot of slate. Not
okay,
granite.
we're all granite. Yeah, we're granite and basalt over here, and it makes a little different.
I opened up a map of New Hampshire while you were talking a minute ago, and I noticed there's a lot of waterways in there,
Yep.
a lot of lakes and a lot of streams and rivers.
Yeah, we're it was said that we're 70% or 80% woods and 20% water. But yeah, there's definitely little ponds and lakes everywhere. I mean, even my neighborhood, I drive a couple minutes down the road, I got like 3 lakes that there's houses and communities on. Some of them are uninhabited, some of them are full of people, and so we do have a lot of woods, and they all connect. One of the spots here, my neighborhood, is Bear Brook State Park, which is the biggest state park in New Hampshire. And it is in Merrimack County, which is central New Hampshire. It's also the last place to have a living population of timber rattlesnakes. It's also a mysterious place where a lot of strange things have happened through the years. So it's one of those places too. I think we're going to do some checking out and do some investigation, at least hone our skills out there, right? Get out there, see what we want to do and how we want to do it, because it's local. And
if you guys are running short on rattlesnakes, just let me know. We can send you up a truckload.
Yeah, they're definitely not a common thing around here. I think I've only seen one poisonous snake in New Hampshire my whole life, and that was a copperhead. I went to catch it, and I realized, hey, that's not a garter snake. Or we do have the big brown water snakes, which get very, very large, and people think they're water moccasins because they look so close. But it's fun when you catch one and people think it's a poisonous snake, and they chase them around the yard with it. Like I used to do that with my sisters, but I'll digress with those stories. But
it does startle you when you're walking. Also, you see 8-7 foot black corn snake going like.
Oh yeah.
Caught one of those.
Well, that's another one of the dangers of being out trekking in the woods. Right. Not only you got to worry about the little ticks and the little buddies that hang on you when you go home, but you got to also worry about the snakes.
Yeah, here in New Hampshire too. I'm sure, like in upper state New York, where you have less of that stuff. We do have the black flies and mosquitoes are probably the worst.
Well, let me give you a little geography lesson. Right, is that there is an area right across the river, the Pulteney River in Vermont, and it's a mountain. I forget the exact name of it, but it's near the Gaelic Preserve, and it has one of the largest concentration of rattlesnakes in the Northeast.
Oh wow!
And so anytime you were down working in that area, it's very rocky, and snakes love coiling up in between rocks, and so it's a threat. But in all the years I've been up there, I've seen a water moccasin and I've seen a black corn snake, and that's it. I've never seen a rattler. Never even heard one yet.
Yeah.
And I've been in that area quite a bit. So there's supposed to be bear up there as well. I have yet, even in my research area, other than the time Alex and I were there when we thermed a bear, that was the first time in 24 years I had seen a bear.
Wow. And it makes you wonder too, or makes you think, or should illustrate a point to people that are non-believers. It's like, people really see bears. I mean, when you're hunting, if I go deer hunting, I don't see deer every time I go out, or else it wouldn't be an issue. So, bear, there's definitely a resurgence of black bear here in New Hampshire. I had I have a huge silver maple that's growing maybe 15 feet from my back door. And we had one, juvenile or an adolescent kind of hanging out, checking it out, ready to climb down. And I had, an elderly dog it wouldn't have been good if they mixed it up. And my basement door was open. So the last thing I really wanted to do was have a black bear in the basement.
Bear in the house. Yeah.
And, you know, my wife and kids, and they all thought it was great. And, oh, look at the bear. He's so handsome. He's so nice. Yeah, well, we got to get him out of here. So I opened the door and I just yelled at him. And sure enough, he took off like a bolt backside of the tree and never seen again. Kind of felt bad that we yelled at him, but I didn't, you know, definitely didn't want to have to do anything else to him. And I didn't necessarily, as fun as it would have been to be on like Northwoods Law when they were doing the Northwoods Law up here.
Yep.
I didn't really want to have to waste my day dealing with a bear in the basement, you know. So
a lot of times they're kind of like a Bigfoot too. They don't want to see you as much as them as you want to see one of them.
Not at all.
But you know, and I just checked a little statistic in that as of 2021, the bear estimate in New York State alone was 6,000 to 8,000 bear.
Wow.
And so, you know, and think about how rarely you do see those in New York.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like people, you know, usually when somebody sees a bear in New York, you know, out like in the suburban areas, even there's a news report on it.
Yeah, totally.
But you know, and we've also had, you know, moose come through. I remember the moose running through the city of Troy. And then a few years early before that, there was one running through Albany. And it happens.
I almost had a few moose just a couple weeks ago. Kind of ran out in front of us, like, you know, I was driving down the road, and sure enough, the car in front of me had pulled over, and it was kind of in a shadow spot too, in the road. And yeah, sure enough, another one came between us, and you don't realize how big they are and how dangerous they are, and then they're gone. I got my phone out quick because I was thinking squatch, you know, stuff the whole time, and how fast can I react if I did see a squatch? So I'm driving down the road, pulling out my phone, seeing if I could get a glimpse of the moose, and I did, but it happened so quick, and you can only imagine seeing a squatch or something that just it's here, and if you freeze or you get stunned because, like I said, I haven't had an encounter. We've all had, I think, those eerie moments in the woods where things aren't right. Just last summer, my wife and I had climbed Mount Kearsarge and just took a hike, and the woods were eerie, dead silent. Not even a cricket chirping, not even a songbird for hours. For hours.
Weird.
It is weird. It was unsettling. And it was a great place for something like that to hang out, you know, plenty of water, plenty of cover, plenty of resources.
But, you know, here's my interesting thing about that, though. You know, people say all of a sudden it got really silent, and I think something's going on. Well, you would think that a Bigfoot is a resident there.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, I think a lot of times is they're reacting to us being
me. Yeah, you're right. I mean, because that's true. When I go deer hunting, it takes a good 45 minutes an hour before you hear the squirrels running around chasing each other again, the humming, you know, the birds coming back, usually in a good hour and a half of just sitting absolutely quiet, does the life start to come back, and then you'll see your deer, or you'll see, you know, a fisher cat or something that's very unlikely. I've only heard about pine martens, but I saw one a couple years ago just because kind of was surprising because it was just an odd looking creature. And sure enough, I looked it up, and it was a pine marten, probably chasing the squirrels in my tree.
In my years, some of the weirdest animals I've seen is an armadillo, and they sound like a tank coming through the woods. Literally. I mean, it's like crash, bang, boom, boom. You expect this big thing to come out, and here's this little, you know, just trucking away. I've seen a fisher in the wild. I've seen a mink in the wild. I have seen there's one other animal that I've seen that really, but it escapes me now. There's some, you know what it is, old timers again. So I'll probably have to. I'll be like, oh yeah, that was. But yeah, I remember there's been some misidentifications. I remember going out to Illinois one time doing an investigation, and there was a guy who said, I could hear the Bigfoot snorting at me. And that led me to think, snorting. I don't hear too many Bigfoot reports where the Bigfoot snorts.
I've been snorted at.
That's very true. They do. They sound like calculated footsteps. You're like sitting there going, "Is this a Bigfoot? Is this a Bigfoot?"
Yeah.
No, armadillo.
Let a turkey come up behind you while you're sitting out in the woods.
Yeah. We have a lot of turkey up here too. And
that's it. I had a barred owl fly over my head, like by about 3 feet.
I think that's the cool thing, and what is really kind of opened my eyes, or helped open my eyes to come into a realization with the Bigfoot thing, is that, and I hate to call it a Bigfoot thing, it's a phenomenon, it's this thing, and I'm still trying to take it in and kind of grasp, so bear with me. But when I grew up in the 80s, I was born in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, so much land. I mean, we went through a period here in New Hampshire where it was really rough and run down. It was just old mill towns that were washed up and just dried up. All the shoe factories, all the Nikes and Timberlands that everybody's spending big money on. Those were what we had for him. That's our parents worked at the shoe factories, at the textile places, all that stuff dried up. And for a long time, it was kind of dead and kind of gross around here. A lot of clear cut land, a lot of pollution, a lot of just old. And when I got out of the Army in 95, I joined the Army right out of high school. Actually, while I was in high school, but
well, thank you for your service.
Absolutely. It was my honor. I started landscaping, and a lot of it was, restoring properties, whether it was, these open areas that were clear cut and just kind of left, reseeding them and restoring stuff. And I took a lot of pride in that with the landscape side of it. But since then, there's been so much like reforestation and so much recovery that when I was a kid, we didn't see bald eagles. We didn't have loons here in southern New Hampshire. I saw, where was I? I don't think I was far from where I'm at. Maybe I was over in the Ossipee area, but I saw a golden eagle. I don't know if you've ever seen a golden eagle. It's massive, massive animal that was definitely not a turkey vulture. I mean, we got turkey vultures by the score, just flying in flocks all over the place constantly here. But to see bald eagles and the loons and a lot of the birds, as well as things like more fisher, more black bear, more moose, especially here in southern New Hampshire, it makes me wonder, and that's kind of why we went to Whitehall, and that's what I think I asked you, Steve, and I didn't know how to quite pose it at the time, but like Bigfoot populations, are they something that was, and I think you alluded to maybe they were here and it just maybe kind of more active, or if they were migrating or whatever, because I'm thinking that this reforestation is maybe a draw, or at least providing more habitat for these creatures and other creatures that we haven't seen or were known to be extinct. We're also looking at mountain lions, or catamounts, as I'd like to call them, as a cryptid. Also the old reports of certain cryptids in the northern, old logging stories, the fearsome critters, for instance. Some of those cryptids from hundreds of years ago turned out to be actual animals. Wolverines, they're not known to be living breeds populations around here, but they're so elusive and so scarce. It's not unreasonable to think wolverines and mountain lions are not coming through, my backyard. And those go, and that kind of dovetails in with these real events, what people are seeing. Like you said, Steve, so many of these are misidentifications. It doesn't mean they're not real. Right. I mean, how many times has somebody seen a Bigfoot and think, oh, it's just a man. Oh, it's just a hunter in a ghillie suit. That's a misidentification that literally flips the script and brings it the other way. So it has to, there's so many dots to connect that nobody can sit there without doing any homework whatsoever. And this is why I'm trying to do what I'm doing, is you cannot just sit there and be a keyboard warrior and say, yeah, prove it. There's no body, right? You don't have a body. There's no proof. How can you be that lazy to just have that kind of explanation? That's just kind of
Right.
Well,
mailing it in, right? That's just
And
being
when,
just being cynical to be cynical, right? I mean,
and when you compare what's in the fossil record to certain animals, like it's amazing to learn that the Gigantopithecus, all we have is, several jawbones and teeth.
right.
We don't have a vertebrae. We don't have a rib. We don't have a femur. We don't have any
Right.
of it. We don't have a skull.
But science says that
They
existed and
exist.
that's real. Yeah.
So
And
I'm just saying there's so few bones of a creature that existed. Is it possible? That's the reason why we don't have the bones, is
Right.
because
that would lead me up to a question too. I was wanting to ask Mike about. I want to get your opinion, Mike, on whether you think Bigfoot is strictly biological creature, or have you heard or studied any of the paranormal applications into Bigfoot?
so I haven't really dipped into the paranormal side of the Bigfoot thing. I have heard the story, the portals. Maybe they're guardians of the vortex. They come down and from the UFOs. They're a type of fairy. I've heard a lot of these things. There's a lot to unpack for a lot of reasons. I think of Bigfoot, and I want to think of Bigfoot and focus as the biological entity, the wilderness. I can relate. I can relate to the wilderness from being a hunter and an avid outdoorsman. I understand, plants and invasive species and all that stuff. So that's where my faith, and I think that's what it is with Bigfoot, right? With Sasquatch, is a faith, because you got to make that jump, right? And that's where a lot of atheists, or a lot of, don't talk about people's belief structure, but I think some people are skeptical to take a leap of faith with the dots that are connected. When we're trying to solve problems in life, right? A problem that we've never done before, we're trying to overcome something or create something or whatever it is. And I'm sure, Steve, you trying to be, working as a content creator, you come up with problems all the time. You have to be creative to find your solutions. I think sometimes we have to take those educated guesses in those gut feelings and make that leap. And sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're going to fail and fall flat on your face. As long as you can dust yourself off. All right, I won't do that again, or I'll go a little harder next time, or whatever. I think some people in this thing seem to be missing the faith, and I think that's what I'm so excited about, is that faith and that hope. I think that's what brings a lot of people that see these things and don't know who to talk to or who to confide in, because they don't want to feel crazy and be judged. And two, you got to look at the people that are doing the judging. These are city people that don't know fresh air if it hit them in the face. People that are skeptical seem to be people that spend very little time in the wilderness. But anybody that lives in a rural community, anybody that lives in an outdoor lifestyle will tell you that, yeah, there's more than meets the eye.
Well,
so as far as the paranormal, just to say, I know there's a distinction, but I also have a whole nother connection. I think some people are intuitive to certain things that I'm not, or at least I have a switch that I can flick it. I'm not pretending. I'm not, definitely don't have any psychic abilities. I don't pretend to. I don't have that type of leap of faith. So for me, it's all about biological entities. However, I am intrigued by the stories and those connections of the legends, cryptids, the paranormal, and all those other stuff too. But
yeah, I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head about faith. I do not have faith that the creature exists. I have faith in some of the witness accounts. Right. I have faith in my own accounts.
yeah.
It's really crucial that you go into everything leaving that faith at the doorstep. You have to go in with an open mind willing to say this is either one of several things. It's a misidentification, it's a hoax, it's the real thing, or it's something you're not going to be able to explain. Now, usually when it comes out, if you can't really prove it, but you believe in your witness, there's some corroborative evidence, but not scientific evidence per se. You can say, hey, this is likely this. You know, and that's a lot of what we deal with. It's likely this, or it's debunked. And a debunking can be several different reasons.
Mm.
I find it really hard that, but it happens. But it usually happens when one of the senses is compromised. For example, I'll go back to that Illinois case where the guy heard the Bigfoot snort. We went out in the same field. We were a week behind his sighting. And we're out there and we hear, pull up a thermal. It's a buck. It was rut season. And we had kind of suspected that, but he had heard that. He heard him move in the brush and he heard these snorts, never hearing them before. Of course, he wasn't a country guy. He was a city guy just hanging out in the country. And what do you know? It was a deer.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand that, okay, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. That's what we're here to find out and put all to rest.
Well, that's interesting. Alex has put one. So there's actually a report I heard years from the New Hampshire and Coos County of hunters who got scared off by a drunken Bigfoot near an apple orchard. Bizarre story. Now that's interesting.
That does sound interesting because we are known for our beer intake up here in New Hampshire, so it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that there's a local who's likes to get a little groove on, especially a day like this, you know, St. Patty's Day. So
let me
back to Dr. Jane Goodall.
Yes, that's Chris knows exactly where I'm going with this because he's a studier of my books. But Dr. Jane Goodall, when she wrote in The Chimps and the Mugambi, he was habituating the chimpanzees with apples. And eventually there'd be some apples that were left on the ground, and you know, she'd come back a few days later and try to do it again. But the chimpanzees, when they came out to see her, would take the apples they get and kind of put them down on the ground and take the apples that were sitting on the ground. Why? Because they had fermented. And they like getting the buzz off eating these apples that were fermented. So when you say a drunken Bigfoot near an apple orchard, it kind of rings a bell with a connotation of that story. And I didn't know if you knew that story. But
I didn't know that story. Definitely not.
So you see where I'm going. There may be something to that. Now, here's another interesting point. That how many times have we heard stories of a Bigfoot smelling musk-like? Well, the chemical that breaks down the apple and ferments them into alcohol is a substance known as ethol. And ethol, in its raw form, smells like musk. So I'm wondering if you have an apple that's or a Bigfoot that's consuming a lot of those apples with that ethol, maybe that's why they emit a musky smell sometimes. Just a working theory based on some facts. Nothing proven, nothing sane, just an idea.
See, I think that's what's fun too about this is that there's a lot of stuff. Like I had an idea one day, it just kind of came to me watching a video that maybe tree knocks were chest thumps because gorillas were making a similar sound. It was repeated, chest thumps. But it got me thinking about it, and I shared it in a couple groups and to see what people thought, and it didn't seem to be that far-fetched, and I was actually kind of happy that okay, I'm on the right page here. I'm kind of trying here.
There's another possibility that they do mouth pops.
Right.
I can't do it with my mouth, but
Sure.
And that's another working theory. I don't know. I've heard tree knocks. I had one a few years ago. The last good tree knock I ever heard, unprovoked. We didn't even vocalize. We just were walking and we heard one. 48-degree weather, so it couldn't be the tree expanding or contracting. And we heard it, boom. And we're like, and it definitely sounded like wood on wood, but who knows at that point in time? And actually, tactical Bigfoot research was living when that occurred. And it's nice to have these experiences. That's why I never go alone into the forest. I try not to. The reason being is that something happens, I want to have at least one witness to me to say, yep, this is what had happened. Or somebody that can keep me in check and say, no, that was not what you thought.
Right. Yeah. And like what we talked about earlier is make sure you're safe and nothing happens to where you gotta, you're left in the woods by yourself. And
Mick, that is true. They have apocrine glands underneath their arms that they will release an odor when they are under stress.
But I like the apple thing because being from Kentucky and have some working knowledge of alcoholic beverage production, we found out, or I found out, if you're making homemade wine or mash if you use apples, it has a really, really high alcohol content, really high. So a fermented apple, a rotting apple laying underneath a tree somewhere would be a very attractive thing to most primates.
Yeah, I would think so too. I remember as a kid seeing a video on maybe Mutual of Omaha's Wild Discovery or something back before cable.
Wild Kingdom.
Yes, yeah.
With Marlon Perkins. Watch
Yes.
watch Jim, the poor son of a gun.
Jim
wrestling the alligator. Oh, there's Jim. He's getting beat up by the ostrich. Oh, there's Jim. He just got kicked in the face by a mule.
But I remember seeing a scene in, I think it was Northern Africa or maybe somewhere, where this orchard, all the animals from all around, giraffes, elephants, baboons, they would just come to these orchards after the fruit fermented, and they would just have a party. They were stumbling and drunk, and I'll never forget that. So that's makes all the sense in the world to me.
And if you think about it, there was a flap in the 70s in Whitehall on the northern side of Route 4. And at that time, there was an apple orchard on the northern side of Route 4. In 2006, those apple orchards were no longer there. Trees have been cut down, moved in for a little bit of industrial stuff. But now there was an apple orchard on the south side of Route 4. And in 2006, there was a whole flap of sightings around that apple orchard. You have the New York, the Pridgeon video. That was filmed at an old apple orchard in the background. Those were all apple trees in the background silhouetted. And there are so many other examples of sightings near apple orchards.
So those valley areas in the Hudson River Valley. I mean, that's a lot of orchard and farmland anyway, right? That's.
If you go down towards like the Plattekill area, the Ulster County, the Ulster, and across the river, I believe it's Dutchess County. There's a lot of apple orchards up in there. A lot.
It's funny you keep saying Route 4, and I literally am on Route 4 right now over here in New Hampshire, US Route 4. So you're just down the street, I guess, right?
Just down the street.
Right.
It's not a direct route, I guarantee. So it was 2.5, 3 hours to Whitehall from here on Route 4. I think I cut up a little bit, but yeah, it's
a bit of a drive.
Yeah, a little bit. And there's really not much. And that's what I say about here when people ask where I live. Oh, you near Boston? Or we live kind of the northern edge of civilization, and there's not much north of us except for maybe Montreal and Santa Claus.
Yeah. Yeah, you're from way up New Hampshire.
Yeah, right where I'm at. Yeah, I'm just outside of Concord, but that's like literally the edge. Everything south of us is suburbia. Everything north of us is just wilderness and woods.
So let's talk about a little experience that we both can share a little bit. And I'm not going to necessarily mention. Well, hello, Boris. Good to see you, sir. First time making it to live chat. Howdy from Oregon. Welcome, Boris. Good to see you.
Welcome. Glad to see you, Boris.
There are times, and I think that was an eye opener for you, when you start talking to a witness, and originally their story sounds pretty solid. Well, they have this video, it's questionable. They have another video, it's questionable. And then you meet them and you start talking to them and you realize, wait a minute, what's going on here? I think we both had that reaction in different ways.
I think so too. Yeah.
And then comes the great debate. Was that person intentionally doing that, or was the person of the mind that he was just maybe not, all there? So it becomes that crucial point where you say to yourself, well, do I out this person because the person's just, it's not no fault of his own, right? It's just the way his mind is working. Right. Or is it, because he is intentionally trying to do that? And I believe that my decision is coming down to the latter. I actually believe. And what convinced me was that the day after we were there, another group was there the day after.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, what's that, and and I don't know if you had a similar thing. When you guys asked to be taken to where the scene of the crime was, the videos, did you get excuses, or did you get, oh, that's over there, or did you get, blow off, or did he actually take you to where he said he did it?
So, yeah, actually, it's funny because I showed up to this location on a whim, kind of last minute, hot tip. Next thing, I'm getting reports that the whole Squatch community is over these reports and really excited about them. So literally being 20 minutes down the road from where I was, I'm like, okay, I can't kind of miss this opportunity.
Sure.
So I took a ride over there just for the heck of it, just to kind of put eyes on the ground and just to kind of take a look at this general area. And I didn't know whether I was ever going to get a chance to talk to this guy this guy or not. And we were kind of going through like some third person thing. So it was kind of really weird for us. So yeah, actually he came right to me. He found out I was there and he literally came to me and he said he was excited to meet me. And then when we started talking, there was actually some things that really kind of made me wonder, first off, if the individual had followed me through social media, had followed me through some of the stuff that I'd been active in. Because some of his descriptions were like, for instance, the chest knocking thing. I brought that up in a couple groups. He had mentioned it and he kind of went into detail about that. And it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, well, this is like a working theory I have that's just very vague and very whatever. And he's like feeding into it. So right off the bat, I got this kind of weird kind of step back, like, I don't want to use the term, but is somebody tickling my fancy, or are they trying to be relatable, or how's this, how is this going to go? And he was actually very open to kind of show us this general area where it was. It was rainy and it was getting dark. It was like a short window. We really had little to no time to do anything other than to talk to this guy. And he showed me a few spots. I didn't really go prepared with anything but a pair of binoculars. So I had my cell phone and it actually loaded up with data, so I didn't even have any cloud storage left at the moment, maybe bad service or whatever it was. So I kind of stopped recording a couple things. But it was very unclear. And then he was actually apologetic for even bringing me out there. And then he explained stuff and some things that happened in the moment that we tried to catch, like motion. At one point, it was my cohort across this floodplain on another tree line. I was excited too, to be honest with you. See a biped shadow moving across a tree line when you're looking for Bigfoot, you get excited. But when you realize it's it's the guy that you've known your whole life, and you can pick him out a million miles away, I'm like, okay, I know who that is. That's Kelly. That's not a Bigfoot. But the guy with the witness was really, he's actually persistent about seeing something move. I had binoculars, he didn't, and I definitely didn't see anything move. There was some shadow, some stuff. So, to be fair, I didn't see the exact location of the shots because we didn't quite get there because I just didn't have time. And so I didn't get to analyze any of that stuff. But just kind of talking with him, I felt like he wanted to see Bigfoot. Was kind of my impression.
Right.
He wanted to see Bigfoot, and that's what was kind of coming out.
Right. And when we got there, I'm a very down to business guy. So I had him talk about it on recording, and when we were done with that, we started to go, and I stopped him because I could kind of recognize where I kind of had the overhead shots and was studying it the night before. So I kind of had some general idea of where he was taking these videos from.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, which I had seen, was the one where it was kind of near the waterway there.
Yep.
And I asked, I go, why don't you take me to where the waterway is? Because that would have been the closer one. And I knew that from looking at the overhead map. And curiously, he said, oh, that's way down there. So I'm like, okay. So we're stuck with this tour. And he showed us some tracks, which were actually deer tracks.
Were they the inline tracks that were like 2 feet apart?
In the snow.
And, he did say that he remembers seeing them shuffle on the ice. So that's why the tracks were probably not 5 feet apart.
Yeah. But when we said those are deer tracks, he automatically turned around and said, oh yeah, they're deer.
No.
Right. We go down in further. He shows us where he shot the first video. I'm leaning on this rock and steadying my camera, yada, yada, yada. And I'm looking, I'm going, I see nothing but trees on the other side of the waterway there. It just doesn't look like the shot. And we continue on, and I turn around and ask him, I said, well, where is the shot from that one where it was standing on the water edge? Oh, that was back there where you came in from. I was like, huh?
Story. Yeah.
Right. So all of a sudden we get to a certain point, and he's afraid of this albino Bigfoot all of a sudden. Well, there's an albino Bigfoot, and he's mean, and he was, showing us alleged trail cam pictures. He said that we're 15 foot up in the air, and see that little white splotch? That's the albino. And we were like, we're all starting to look at each other very cross-eyed.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, oh, I got to go, and he leaves us. He goes, you guys can go in further if you want. And we all looked at each other. Well, no need for us to go in any further.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So we start turning around, walking out, and lo and behold, we find the spot of the video, that first video he shot. And it was
Is that the one that got everybody's attention on a BR4 page?
I do not know which one it was per se that got everybody's attention.
There was so many. He was sending them to us, and I honestly I didn't even have time. It happened so quick. It really did. It happened. Like I said, I was close, so it was hard to even break down what was going on.
Yeah, it was the crouched one.
Okay.
It was the one that was crouched watching him. And this Bigfoot's been following me, and it's crouched down there. And there it is. We can see what he was looking at. And we looked at it, and there's a picture of me pointing at it, and Alex filmed me talking about it. And it's there. There it is. Now that's the Bigfoot right there. It's just it's some kind of natural formation, whether it be a bush or a pile of debris. And it was nowhere near. It was probably about 30 feet from the rock. So if you were standing at the rock, you couldn't see these things. Only from the angle we were standing, you could see it. You can see the same ground that he was standing on. You could see the same ground. Right. So this is the shot right here. Why did he tell us he took it from there? And the story of him steadying his camera on the rock, he would have never seen it. So at that point, I began to think, and I had a night to think about it. Yep. And there's Alex, who was with us. And I think I can run the video. So this is some of the video that was shot that day where we were. And that debris line, I think, is a little bit to the left now. And he was shooting on the other side of the river. So that's just a quick 4K shot of the
Yeah, and it was a weird little area too, because he was telling me that was an island. It was an island. It was an island. That's all I heard. And then at the very end, before my phone went out, I was able to pull up Google Earth and get enough reception to kind of see that it wasn't an island. It was a peninsula and a floodplain. And then it was an airstrip down at the other end and probably limited access. Some farm, some more corn or something like that was kind of grown over there. And then the power lines. So it seemed to be open, a very big open space with a very limited tree line.
Right. It wasn't a heavily forested area. It
For
was
even like
surrounded.
big game like bears, I don't know that maybe they come. I don't know. I didn't see much sign other than like some deer and maybe some
Coyote.
bobcat. Yeah,
Coyote,
something.
Bobcat, coyote, stuff like that.
Well, Steve, I mean, I don't want to get you to spill your report, but are you kind of leaning towards that this guy, do you think this guy may have seen something initially and then got Bigfoot on the brain, or he just had Bigfoot on the brain in the beginning?
I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is people that have Bigfoot on the brain won't lie, won't mislead you. You know, I have this
They
whole,
tell you something they actually
Right.
believed, right?
Right. He is conforming the story to, like, we believe he left us because he knew that on the way back we would see that area. That's what we were speculating at first. Did he leave us because he knew we would find the actual spot? And then the next day he has another group come out too. So that's somebody that's looking to either, I'm not sure if he just likes the attention. If
That's
he just
what we kind of got out of it. And we had kind of, my partner Kelly had mentioned that night before we even left. He's like, Mike, I don't know, we're wasting our time over here because we wanted to bring a crew. We had some guys that were interested in going to walk through the woods with him. We're like, okay, maybe we'll put a camera crew together, talk to people around town, see what they've heard, we'll see what they know, make it part of our adventure. We did some local guys looking for Bigfoot. We didn't think much of it other than that. So Kelly was kind of onto it, and he's like, Mike, I'll play along. Well, he said, what did he say? He told me that he would entertain me to come back at another date whenever we could work that out. We didn't have anything set in stone. It was a Wednesday, I think, Wednesday evening. And we kind of, communication kind of fell apart a little bit. And then we heard that he was dropping off, didn't want anything to do with us. We heard stories that we were intimidating, and we heard stories that other investigators and networks were intimidating him. And it was like a lot of stuff. And it almost, I think maybe this goes a little bit what you were saying, Steve. He seemed very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very open to, like you said, he changed his mind a lot to cater what we were doing. And he just, I don't know, maybe the exact word.
They're
he's impressionable, definitely. Like,
I don't think he's impressionable. I think he's, and sometimes as a forensic interviewer, I will ask somebody and when I suspect they're lying and they're this type of suspect, or this type of subject, I should say, I will ask leading questions to get them to agree with it, even though I know they're completely wrong.
Right. I gotcha.
You follow me? And that will tell me if this guy is trying to either please me, because I haven't done anything to make him impressionable.
Right.
What he's doing, I mean, if we had sat there and interrogated him for 5 hours, he may just end up telling us what we want to know.
Right.
But when we're sitting there and he's willingly taking us and very happily taking us, you can throw a suggested, thing out.
Yeah.
And he would agree to it real quick. I think that there was just too many lies he was making to call it this is just somebody that's sick. I mean, this starts with the ill family member. Well, if you have an ill family, right? Remember that?
Yeah. That was
But
part
yeah,
of the
but
whole.
right,
That was because that was part of the reason that why
that
he was
ill,
shutting down and locking up and not talking
right,
to anybody
and
was
that ill
because there's
family
stuff
member
going on.
and that ill family member is probably not going to make it, and they're on life support or whatever. But yet he had time to show you guys. He had time to show us. He had time to show somebody else the next day. And a lot of times his child was with him. Well, who's at the hospital?
Yeah.
You know, when is he going to the hospital? You know, it just made no sense. And then the accusations that you guys were bullies, the accusation that, you know, apparently Moneymaker was bullying him. The accusation that, another group was bullying him. Nobody was bullying him.
Yeah. I honestly think, we kind of came to the conclusion that he was looking for the attention because we found a video of him claiming to be Bigfoot bounty hunters, and they were locking and loading their guns because they found a Sasquatch on the mound or something. And that's when we're kind of like, okay, we
and before that, what was he? He was trying to be a ghost hunter, and he was taking a picture of ghosts. And then here's a picture of a UFO I got, and it's very clearly that from the inside of the vehicle that was a reflection. In fact, I think he used that same reflection because the next day he sent a trail cam picture to Crystal that had red glowing eyes.
Okay,
and it did not look like real red glowing eyes. We've all
sounds
seen
this sounds more and more like a guy looking for to get a TV show or something.
Could be.
Well, that's the thing that we were thinking was like, is he trying to get our attention? Is he how long? You know, this one guy, and I don't know if he's listened, but Richie B down in Massachusetts has a podcast, Banter with Richie B, and he was talking to him for a little bit. And you know, the guy told him that he was a big fan of him for a while. So then we were kind of thinking, like, what's kind of going on here? Is he leading us because he thinks that, you know, we're famous? I'm just starting out here, you know, and you guys show up. Okay, that's his. Okay, he's getting what he wants. He's going through everybody. Right. Everybody's getting everybody's attention. And then even as it was, he had some other guys out there too. So he was going through the motions, trying to find friends, I think, in a way, you know what I mean? On top of, I think, pretty much what you just explained.
And looking at all the other stuff that he did, like the UFO pictures and then the ghost pictures, which could probably easily be explained. I think he was just trying to gain provenance. You know, to say, hey, look at me. I'm, you know, I do all this and continue to roll out. What he didn't realize was that after a while, people are going to say, okay, we you know, you've told one tale too many. Goodbye.
Well, for a split second, I'm thinking like, okay, here we are in New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, and we just uncovered and have unfeathered access to the most prolific Bigfoot hunter of all time.
Right. Right.
You know, that's at first, that's the first impression. Okay, we got to get over and check this out because even if it's, you know, a hunch is a hunch or a lead is a lead, right? You got to kind of follow the set.
Nice guy.
Super nice guy. He was really cool. Totally. Definitely have to throw that out there. He was a nice, he was a really good guy.
Everybody looked at me and said, "Oh, we're so sorry, Steve. You drove, 2 hours to come out here to look at that." And I'm like, "It's all part of the job.
Yeah.
It's just the job, And you walk away with it, saying, "Okay, we know. We don't have to sit there and say, because if we didn't go, we'd be saying, what if? What if? Well, now we know."
Yeah, and we talked I think one of the nights before, and I had told you that we'd been there and how I expressed to you how us being new, myself at least being new, I didn't want to be the reason why an investigation got botched either. I didn't want to. I still feel that way with a lot of stuff. That's why I think I want to develop a team of our own that's capable of handling things and looking at things the right way, understanding how to approach it, like you said, like a crime scene, how to do all that stuff right. So we don't get caught up any drama from third, fourth, fifth party things coming at me from all different directions and not knowing who's what and what's what and who's up and who's down. Because I was thinking, like, what did I get myself into? This is not what I wanted. I wanted to make friends and shake hands. And
so, Mike, how long was it that it took you to realize this guy was full of baloney?
It didn't take me long at all. Walking with him, because he was pointing things out. There it is, and I clearly could not see. There was sounds that were. He was afraid. We got to get out of the woods. There it is. There's a sound. I said, nope. Let's walk toward the sound. And sure enough, it was 2 pine trees rubbing. Stuff like that. So by the time it got dark and we walked back, I kind of had that vibe.
Gas.
He saw a shadow across the river too with us as well. We didn't see anything. So.
Yeah.
But
and then he was apologizing. Like I said too, he was apologizing. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have brought anybody out. I shouldn't have said anything. It's like, I feel bad for bringing you out here and we didn't see it. So it's like, okay, no worries, bud. We're here. Yeah. It's all good.
To me, okay, I was talking to him a little bit, not really about anything in particular. It wasn't until we sat down and started talking to him, and I knew within the first 3 minutes of talking to him about his experiences, he was full of beans.
Yeah.
Because he started off with, when did it, of course, I have a regular, well, tell me about when this first started. Well, about a year ago. And at that point I knew, because he had never mentioned anything else.
Yeah. Now that you say that, it does make sense, because he said it happened at some time ago, but he wasn't into Bigfoot. Bigfoot was a new thing just the last couple of days that he got into. And I looked back and he had joined our group within a few days and he started posting all that stuff like right off the bat. So that was kind of a flag too, for me. And now that you say that, that makes sense.
So I think Lester maybe actually be familiar with the story. Did you find red markers? LOL. And to answer that question, yes, we did. And we're in the process of identifying what those red markers actually were. We believe that they're some sort of guard that's on a snowmobile. Maybe wrong, but we're going to find out what they are. So the tactician says guys like him just create more skepticism, cause researchers to look over true. No, to me, no, it doesn't. Every case needs to be looked at, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't turn me off to going after or give me a bias towards other research. Remember, I write a lot about, I have a big whole new experience with bias now, is that, I'm very hyper aware of bias, including my own, that when I look at something that I can't go in, I often say I go into things as a skeptic. I can't, because being skeptical is a bias.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize I have to go in, okay, as an investigator, I'm here to investigate what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the person's claims. Then you can become skeptical or go, hey, this guy seems like he's telling the truth. I looked at him and he was telling, it looked like to me, he was very artful at hiding his body language as far as telling the stories, but his stories were so all over the place. And, once you start mentioning something that doesn't seem credible and tell me about something that wasn't initially reported, then I have an issue. And that is huge. So do we want to take a 30-second commercial break here, Chris? Because I have something to play.
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. We're just probably about 2 months out before that book is going to be released. It is finished.
Nice.
And it is being examined by a couple of people I highly respect. Actually, 3 people I highly respect. We do know who one of them is. It's that guy sitting right there.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I
copy.
I did send it to you, didn't I?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay. Because, being off, all my days and nights kind of run together now. Yeah. Some days I can't sleep because this wakes me up. So if I get up at 3 a.m, I'll start working on videos, just to keep my mind off it. But yep, that's coming out in just a couple of months. So, and I had to move my schedule up to events because I'm doing a charity event in, I'm not quite sure when, but I know it's June 1st. So I'll be out there, stiff as a board, looking around at people.
Lester said, Chris looks surprised. Yeah, Lester, yeah. I don't require respect. I'm just me.
So that's my 4th book.
Nice.
I don't know if it's going to be a while before the 5th, but a very interesting topic. So I understand, and even writing it even helped me understand better, because to me, writing is a learning experience. I take that journey. I'm the first one to take the journey that you're all going to take to who gets the book.
Yep.
And hopefully my summations will make sense and are worthy.
They do.
I don't know how far you've gotten into it, Chris, but we'll talk after
not very far.
But we got about 18 minutes left to show already. I mean, that's how fast the 2 hours is gone.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like we're almost done. We're in the home stretch here.
So, Steve, if you don't mind me asking you, as a professional investigator, you don't mind walking me through like some of the stuff. If you get a call or a lead, how do you go through that? Especially something like with Matt Moneymaker in the BRFRO. How do you guys do your thing?
Well, as far as the BFRO is concerned, they get a report on their system when somebody reports it. They fill out a form. Same with me. If you go to my website, there's a form, you fill it out. I get notified. I look at the form. Pat Collins said, I started with Steve, but with crayons. I can't stay within the lines. Love you, Pat. So you take a look at that report, then you actually phone contact them if you can, and you have them describe the incident to you. Then you hopefully can arrange a face-to-face meeting. Again, have them, and hopefully both times you're recording those.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can take 1, 2, and 3. And if they all coalesce, that's when you start moving into the field research portion of it. We're going to look around. We're going to collect some evidence. What type of sighting is it? Is it a territorial type of sighting? Which, hey, you might be onto something there. Is it an activity type of assignment? Like, okay, we saw it by the side of the pond drinking water or pulling weeds or something like that. Or is it just like a roadside crossing? Because in a roadside crossing, the chances of it coming back there in the same spot kind of slim. Right. So you're going to look around, find evidence, see if you can track something for a distance or whatever. And that's how the investigations start. From there, it goes on to whatever you're finding as far as evidence.
Right. And then just following the leads and.
Yep. You might want to talk to the neighbors. One of the things I always talk about in the Sasquatch Playbook, which is my 3rd book, is finding that secondary witness. And what a secondary witness is, all right, this guy was out driving his car home. He sees a Bigfoot walk by. He was amazed by it, drives home. You always want to build the timeline of that drive too. Well, when did you leave this place? Did you stop anywhere? No. Okay. And then drive it yourself. See if his timeline makes sense. Right. These are just little things. You want to check the weather data. Make sure the weather's correct for the type, because I'm going to ask things that you can
verify and check.
Verify that they're verifiable. You want to take anything you can get verifiable, because that's either going to break your case or it's going to make the case more credible. The secondary witness is, well, did you tell anybody? Well, when I got home, I told my wife, and she kind of laughed at me, yada, 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 or whatever. Let's say that happened. Well, can I talk to your wife? And their openness to let you talk to the wife could be a big indicator. Well, I don't want to involve anybody else. Okay. Right. The secondary witness can say, oh, yeah, I remember that night he came home. He was all jumped up. He was excited. He couldn't believe what he had seen. Now you're getting corroboration. That's making the case more credible.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget to do that. I remember there was a woman who was on the Monster Quest that I had done, Sue Ross. And Sue Ross was about 5 or 6 years old when she had seen a juvenile Sasquatch actually throwing rocks at her brother. It was jumping up and down. And the brother thought she was throwing the rocks. And she ran home, and the brother's yelling at her, and she was telling her mom what had happened. And sure enough, we interviewed the mother. Oh, I remember her coming home. And yeah, she was all hopped up. She said she saw this little monkey out there jumping up and down, throwing rocks at, her brother. And it wasn't her that did it, but it was this. She took a lie detector and she passed. So, but you have that secondary witness corroboration, and that's why that becomes important to build your story up. To build the credibility of a case up. If they have resistance to that, you try to probe a little bit why. Well, why do you have resistance to that? Why don't you? This helps. We won't have to mention her name, but this helps build credibility to your case.
Yeah.
And if they still don't want to do it, because usually a person who sees a Bigfoot, what do they want? What's their number one thing they want? Vindication. So they'll be like, sure, talk to my wife. She can tell you. Well, I'm not bullshitting you about this. Right? So that's why it becomes very, very important. So that's my tips of how to do, how to start. And the rest is all field work and tools and stuff you can buy, and making yourself a good forensic evidence collection kit. Buy yourself some tubes that you can put buccal swabs in. Buy yourself some buccal swabs. Buy yourself some rubber, not rubber gloves. Now they're all whatever. They buy yourself some
plastic or something.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Buy yourself some gloves. Buy yourself some fingerprint powder. Buy yourself a brush. Buy yourself some tape to lift it. Buy yourself some cards to put them on. Truth be known that if you find more than one handprint on something, print one and swab the other with the buccal swab, because those oils that are released contain DNA now, and DNA has gotten as good to actually identify the DNA in a fingerprint. So that's important to remember. Same thing with the footprint. You get a footprint, you get a trackway, you're going to cast, but leave one trackway that you're going to buccal swab it. Buccal swab the whole thing. You may pick up some oils from their feet as they come down. You look for hairs and tracks. You look for hairs anywhere it touches. You look for hairs on nearby trees. So there's a bunch of things that you can do forensically. But always wear your gloves. Even wear a COVID mask sometime, a good old mask. That way you're not breathing or contaminating the evidence in front of you by breath.
Right.
So and that's true.
You have a book.
Shelley Covington, Montana sells those kits. Shelley's a great girl.
Okay.
She is so down to earth, real good. She's from Texas, a really good, excellent researcher.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, you said your third book or one of your books you said it was a Bigfoot playbook?
Sasquatch playbook.
Sasquatch playbook. Does that have a lot of that stuff in it?
Some of it, yes.
Investigation.
Yep.
Out of your resources, which one would you recommend for me to start off with?
Truthfully, I would start with the last one first.
Okay.
Because that explores.
You mean the one that's coming out?
The one that's coming out.
Okay.
And the reason why that kind of explores what goes through a person's mind, not only in a sighting, but in a hoax and in a misidentification and Bigfoot on the brain and their post reactions and how they act afterwards. that gives you all some insight on what to look for and what not to look for.
And that's where I think we're going to work on here in New Hampshire Bigfoot Society. Kelly has some experience with it. He's actually been talking with Crystal Pendick.
Very good.
And we're going to kind of maybe collaborate, do some training with them. I know the people from Maine Bigfoot Foundation, eager to kind of share some knowledge too. And
one of our guys, Don Gumow, is in chat. He may still be in chat. You might want to hook up with him. His name is Don Gumow Jr. You might want to hook up with him. He's Maine Bigfoot Research.
Okay.
And you might want to hook up with the guys from Squatchdetective as well. They're also BR4O affiliated as well.
Yeah, we're actually going to do an event, just to plug a couple events, on June 22nd, I believe, that weekend anyway. Over at Charming Fair Farm in Candy, New Hampshire, we will be setting up a tent in a booth and doing all kinds of fun stuff. I know Squatchdetective is going to be there. I know Banter with Richie B is going to be doing his podcast from there, and there's a whole lot of other people coming in, and it's going to be fun. It's a Scouting with Bigfoot event in June in Candy, New Hampshire, which is in southern New Hampshire, so it's not too far off the beaten path at all.
And then if you guys are up for it and want to really go outside your realm for a little bit, tickets are also on sale for the Pennsylvania Bigfoot camping adventure, which is down in Fayette County, Pennsylvania, which is in the southwestern corner of Pennsylvania. Great area. The Chestnut Ridge, if you've heard about the Chestnut Ridge, surrounds that area. Really, really good stuff.
And that was done by Eric Altman.
Yep.
Okay, I've seen a lot of Pennsylvania stuff. Trying to put faces and names together.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff going on. It's actually really cool. I know, was it Dan Benoit down at ECBRO was doing some events down in Virginia and I think Pennsylvania. Trying to find out. We're going to have ours in October. Like I said, Portland, the cryptozoology thing is in April.
And that's true. And that's true too. There, you want to hook up with Vermont as well.
Okay. Yes. We forget about Vermont, New Hampshire. No offense, guys. It's kind of a joke with us. The best part of Vermont is the view in New Hampshire.
Hey, but just be careful. Beware of Sasquatch researchers in Vermont.
Okay.
Seeing porcupines and claiming they're juvenile Bigfoot.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
All right, anyway. Sorry, folks, had to go there.
Now, Pat Collins said Vermont.
Hey, good night, Mike, and thank you again, brother.
Pat Collins said Vermont is the. Thanks, Mike. The Vermont is the woodchuck state. But how much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
If a woodchuck could chuck wood.
How much squatch can a Sasquatch squatch if a Sasquatch could squatch Sasquatch? Try that one.
Gonna have to come out with a limerick book next, Steve.
Book
of Sasquatch limericks. St. Patty's Day, right?
There once was a Squatch from Nantucket.
Nantucket.
He's got the Bigfoot album. The Bigfoot album. You've got that on the site now, right?
You know what's going to happen if I finish that?
Enjoy the band.
Yes, that's why we can't finish it.
Are you doing some music?
Huh?
Were you doing some Bigfoot music? Yeah. Is that what the album? No?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I am. Yes. Yeah. But, now I think about it, we have a report from the Canadians.
Oh.
That's a 9-footer. I knew those were real.
Yeah, We can't forget Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. They're up there too.
Yes,
Trailer
they
Park
have the Sam Squanch out there.
Yes.
Sam Squatches. Oh man, I hadn't saw that episode, but Steve showed me a clip of it.
Yes, those
What
guys
happens
are
when
true.
they capture the Sam Squatch? It's hilarious. Yeah.
Which one though? You haven't seen the other one.
Oh,
Turns out.
I saw the one where he was peeking in his shed.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Oh yeah. When was it Julian came out with the blanket and
Yeah.
he was
Oh, my
watching.
God.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there
Those
was
guys are great. I love that kind of that just kind of Canadian humor just lights me up. It's fun. It's almost like it's relatable for me. You know, being a Northern New Englander, I feel more connected with Canadians than I do the rest of America, to be honest with you. But that's what it is.
Yes. So we try to have a little fun here now. We're wrapping up. But anyway, it's that time to wrap up, Chris. But I first want to thank Mike for coming on tonight. It's been fun.
Thanks so much. It was my pleasure.
And very, believe it or not, you have a lot of insight for being in this field for that bit.
6 months.
Yeah, keep it up. Keep
Thank
it up.
you.
And again, I'm here as a resource. I can hook you up with some,
And I'm
really
looking
great
forward to
people,
that.
too.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris, do your thing.
Likewise, I want to thank Mike for coming on with us. We've enjoyed having you.
Thanks
It
so
was
much.
a pleasure and an honor to have you. Good conversation. Always love a good conversation. I want to thank everybody over in chat, all our faithful listeners and our chat recipients there, or chat participants. And if you've been hanging out and kind of like lurking and not chatting, we still appreciate you. We know you there, but we appreciate you. If it's your first time listening, first time watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And, you guys in the chat, make sure you punch that like button on the way out. It helps us.
Sure
We
does.
appreciate everybody that's listening on the podcasts, wherever you may be. And I know there's a bunch of them, but we certainly appreciate you. Always remember, stop by the channel at Squatch-D TV on YouTube to catch out some of the video features. If you've been listening to the sound, check out some of the video. But we appreciate you. We're honored that you spend your time with us, and can't wait to do it again. Thank you.
And on behalf of everybody here, we want to thank you to our wonderful audience. We love you guys. You guys are the best audience in the world. Thank you, Mike Waldy, as well, for your generous contribution. And thank you also, was it Walter? Yes, Walter, buying the 5 memberships.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you so much. We appreciate that. New members, if you got a gift membership and you like what you see, stick around, because we were always doing stuff with that. And in fact, another 10 days, I believe, we're going to be doing the next seminar for the members only. So stay tuned. That's going to be fun. And we got a lot more stuff coming. I'm sorry it's been a little bit slow, but I've been going to medical treatment every other day. I got to go to medical treatment tomorrow for this thing and see where I'm at with work. Because as you know, I work in EMS, so lifting people around is not really, right now, I'm not sure if it's in my wheelhouse or not. We're going to have to test it out. So, anyway, on behalf of me and everybody else here, again, thanks, Mike. And we want to wish everybody a happy, safe, healthy week. We will catch you all this Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Bigfoot News. We already have a couple stories stacked for that already. It's going to be a fun time. And hey, everybody, we'll catch you all in a bit.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.